Okay,
Okay, we are now recording.
I'm going to share my screen. Here, not the wrong one. Wait a minute, let me make sure something. Okay, yep, it's good. Ooh. Can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So Diamond asked me to share the screen with you, and I think we already went over this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the next slide. So the name of this presentation is Preserving Your Family History, Genealogy 101. This is a class that I taught a few years ago before Martin Luther King Library closed in 2017. I used to do like a monthly pop-up on genealogy for people to come in and learn just the basics of genealogy. I've been doing genealogy for over 20 years now. And I started doing genealogy because of my family's history here in the district. I'm I guess I would be a fifth generation Washingtonian on my mom's side. My great great grandfather moved to, well, I know that he was married here in Washington, D.C. in 1861. And I found that out by doing some research and some genealogy, just constantly digging and digging and digging. And they settled in, well, he settled in Anacostia. So I have deep roots in Anacostia. So that's a little bit about my story. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So what is genealogy? So basically the definition of genealogy is the line of descent traced continuously for one ancestor, or the study of tracing of lines of descent and development. So when you're getting started with genealogy, choose a parent, a mother or a father that you know a lot about, like you know a lot about their family, just to make it easy on you. Let's say you know a lot about your grandmother's, your maternal grandmother's family, or your paternal grandmother's family, or your paternal grandfather's family. Um, Choose a line that you have, like you know a lot of people, you know a lot of names, just to get started, and it makes it easier for you. So for me, I knew a lot about my maternal grandmother's father's line. That's the line that came here to Washington from North Carolina. And they have a very unique name. So that also made it easier for me to conduct research. A unique last name. Their last name is Underdew. So that nobody ever heard of that name. And so when I'm doing research, you know, it's easy to find out where they are and where they're from. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. So when I began doing genealogical research, I used to have to go to the archives, and everyone had to go to the archives, and you had to use microfilm. So you had to go to the Soundex first, and you would pull this little film roll and you would scroll through, and you would look for your ancestor's name on the Soundex roll, pull that back, and then pull out another film that had the actual census record on it. So we don't have to do that anymore. You know, in the 21st century, they made it easier for us to kind of do research. So now you have access online to different databases. So through the D Public Library, with your library card, you have access to two different databases. One that's Ancestry, for library editions is ancestry.com. And then you also have access to Heritage Quest. Now, Heritage Quest and Ancestry, they're both the same, they're from the same company, Ancestry.com, but the Ancestry database that we have has more access to different records, like more access to military records, more access to passenger crew records. If anybody's ever traveled overseas by boat. Let's say, for instance, I had a relative who was in the military. He was in World War II. I found where he and his wife traveled to from Hawaii to I forget exactly where they went, but I saw their names listed. So stuff like that you have access to through Ancestry. Heritage Quest is limited when you're at home, but it has the basic things that you need, such as the census. So both of these are available for you while you're at home. However, coming in January, we will be discontinuing access to Ancestry at home. So if you need to access that for more of the records and a wider database of records, you will have to come into the library to access that. You will still have access to Heritage Quest, okay? So, and this is a very, we're very lucky right now. So right now we only have let's say the latest data records that we have access to is the 1940 census. Next year in 2022, we will have access to the 1950 census. And I'm excited. I think my mom will be in the census record. And so the census records are released every 72 years, and they release them every 72 years because of privacy issues. So next year, you'll have access to that. Now, as we begin to move back and you start finding your ancestors' names and you're finding different people, let's say you knew that your great grandmother, let's see, when was my great grandmother born? My great grandmother was born in 1882. So I wanted to go to the 1890 census to, find out a little bit more about her and see where she was living. But I couldn't find that information because most of the 1890 census was destroyed in a fire. So they only have a fraction of that census available. So you might be able to find someone. It's worth giving it a try and giving it a shot and a look. But again, most of that database, most of that census year was destroyed in a fire. So I said the 1940 census is available for everyone. So that's what you have right now. You can access 1940. But 2022, next year, in a few weeks, you'll have access to the 1950 census. So that's really exciting for me. Okay. So it starts with you. So again, start with yourself. Record your own history. Start with things that you remember, because events are remembered differently by each of your relatives and your siblings. I remember stuff that my sister doesn't remember, and my sister remembers stuff that I don't remember, and we're only a year apart. And it's amazing how much stuff she remembers that I don't remember. It's really weird. But start with some of your earliest memories. Create an outline of your life. When was your first birthday party? Who was your favorite relative? Did you have a special relationship with your grandmother or your grandfather or aunt? What type of activities did your family participate in? Did you go on any family trips? Any special holidays that your family celebrated? Record world events that happened to you and how they affected you. So two of the major world events that I remember was the Berlin Wall. I think I remember when that came down, and I didn't really remember the significance of it, but I know that it was something that was major. So that might be something that I would record. And then also as far as like a war, I remember the Gulf War in, I think that was like the early 90s. Again, I don't remember the exact specifics of it, but I do remember it occurring. So that is something that I remember. And then also, I was an adult when Barack Obama was elected as president. So that might be something else that I'll record, and just the significance of that event. And I'll remember where I was and what I was doing. So that's something that you might want to do. So start with yourself, create an outline of your life. Okay. And organization is key. So while you're doing this, you want to become organized. You don't want to look like this lady down here at the bottom of the screen. That's me. That's how I am. And it's horrible. It makes it hard for you to find things. So first, create a to-do list of things that you want to do, people that you want to research, places that you want to visit, and then have your basic tools handy. So let's say, for instance, you want to go to the Library of Congress. When you go to do research there, you cannot use pens. You'll have to use a pencil. So you might want to bring paper and pencils, or they may allow you to bring your iPads with you to do your research. So so have those basic tools handy. Also create a research calendar. So I have family that is also from Montgomery County, Maryland. And there's a historical center that keeps records on the family that lived in, they're from Sandy Spring, Maryland. So there's a historical center that's there that I want to visit, but they only open on a few days of the week. So I have to plan that out when I want to go. So that's something else you want to think about. If you want to go to a church or any historical society. I also used to go to the Mormons. They have a place out in Kensington, their family research center, where you can go, and they have access to military records. They have access to everything. And they were open. I think Mondays they used to be open for African American research. And then they had other days where it was just general, where anybody could come in. But you want to just have a calendar so you can plan out these days of where you want to go and what you want to do. And you want to keep everything in one place, like the pictures on the right. You might want to have a binder of where you keep all your documents and anything that you find. You might want to get some bins to keep photos and other certificates, military records or something like that, or like one of these file folders at the bottom. Or you might want to go digital and save things on a computer. So you might want to get a flash drive or a hard drive. Now, for me to be on the safe side, I do both. I keep a hard copy and a digital copy. So it's up to you. So here's an example of a family group sheet record, and it just has basic information like the person's name, when they were married, their birth, when they died, what was their occupation, were they in the military. And you can find family sheet records like this at Heritage Quest or on Ancestry.com. So they have these types of forms that are downloadable for you for free. And you can record this type of information on that, and then you can scan it to an email and keep it as a digital file, and then also save it as a hard copy in like a binder, or again, like a box or something like that. And if you're working in teams, you want to decide like who's going to be the person to keep these records. So it might not be you. You may be better at doing research, and the person you're working with, your family member, may be good at keeping records. Or, because you know how family can be, you might want to split it up, make sure that you do double copies. So even though that person is, fire department. I have my window open, sorry. Even though that person may be stronger at being organized and keeping the records. You still might want to say, hey, I'd like to keep a copy for myself of both, all of the records that we're finding. So here's another sheet, and this is a research log, and you can be specific about, write stuff specific about a specific ancestor, like what is their name? What is the objective for you doing this research? The date of your search, where's the location? Where did you find out this information about your ancestor? And any comments about information that you found about your ancestors. So these are just different paper records that you can keep about your ancestors, but feel free to make up, anything. You can create your own list. So, what are you looking for? You want to look at church records, newspapers. I found newspapers to be extremely helpful for me in my research. I didn't know anything about my great-great-grandfather. I only knew his name, but I just so happened, I said, let me just check the newspaper records. And so that is how I found out so much information about him here in DC. Military records. They have a wealth of information. They provide a description of your ancestor. Let's say they were in World War I or World War II. They'll tell you how tall that person was. What was their complexion? Did they have any deformities? What color were their eyes? What color was their hair? So again, that provides a wealth of information. Obituaries. My grandmother was famous for keeping obituaries. And obituaries tell you about, let's say somebody who's around your age passed away. Well, they might have listed in that what their mother's name was, or if they lived with the grandparent. So they provide a wealth of information. Again, census records provide, information. Cemetery records. We have at the library a couple of books with Black cemeteries in Washington, D.C., or African American cemeteries in Washington, D.C. And if you know when your person passed away, and if you know that they were buried at this particular cemetery, or if not, you can go in there and then browse these books and look at the cemetery. It'll tell you when the person died, what they died of, and the exact date of death and the date of burial and where they are located in the cemetery. So that's another record. Again, death certificates provide information. Usually they'll have the name of the parent if the informant knows who the parent was. So if you go further back, it'll list and say, okay, this person was the child of this. And that's how I found out my great grandmother's parents' names online, because she died in 1920s, and she was born in about 1860s, 1865. All of that is online. So I was able to find that out. Bible records. Some families kept information in the family Bible. They might have had a family tree in the back. So that's another way to find information about your family. And then marriage license applications or marriage registries. They also tell you information about the person. So for my ancestor, the only thing I found out was where she was from. So who my great-great-grandfather married and where she was from. Other than that, it's real sketchy on who she is. But I did find out that she was from Norfolk, Virginia. So I have family from Virginia. Didn't know that. It's 1:25. I do have one more presentation that I can show you before we go into the demonstration. And I'll be quick with this. And it's audio basics, just in case you want to use your iPads to do video recording. So no longer, you don't need a big camera anymore to do any interviews or anything like that. You can use your iPad, or if you have a smartphone, you can use your smartphone now to conduct interviews. So you can, we recommend that you hold your pad horizontally, because if you do it vertically, or if you use your phone vertically, I should say, you'll risk like cutting off certain backgrounds if you're interested in getting the background. So this is just showing you, if you hold your phone in a certain way, this is how it's going to look. So if you hold your phone like straight up how you would if you're talking on it, the image that you're filming, that's exactly how it's going to be. So again, anything cut off, like if you want the full range of the image that you're trying to get, hold your phone in a certain way. So again, this is just showing you, how it looks. And you also just framing, you don't really focus on that too much. That's not something that you really need to focus on too much. You're not trying to be a filmmaker. You're just trying to capture the person that you're interviewing to get information from them. And then lighting, you want to make sure that your subject is well lit. If anybody's ever watched any documentaries and they're talking to people, like they have these old videos of them talking to people, sometimes you can barely see them because of the light and the way that they're framed. So when you're interviewing someone, any relatives, make sure you're close to a window or you have a lamp or something there to kind of give a light in the background. This is if you want to interview someone regarding their information, or do a family research project where you're interviewing people. You want to make sure you go somewhere quiet. Like in my apartment now, I wouldn't do it. I would close I would close my balcony door, because you have all this noise coming in. And then you want to get as close as possible as you can to whoever you're interviewing, so that you can pick up their voice. Just in case someone talks really softly, you want to make sure that when you've recorded, you've captured everything that they have said. And you can consider purchasing a microphone, but it's really not necessary now. I think a lot of the iPads out now and these smartphones, the audio quality is really good. So you don't have to worry about that. So when you're interviewing your relative or a family member, look at your list of questions. Avoid yes and no questions. If it's something that's not clear to you about what you're asking a relative, ask them to restate it. So you might say, so are you saying that Grandpa Jim used to have a tractor? No, that's crazy. Anyway, yeah, don't be afraid to ask your subjects to repeat themselves if there's something that you didn't catch. So here's some sample questions. Where and when were you born? You can even be more specific. In what state were you born? In what country were you born and when? What were your parents like? Were they funny? Were they serious? Were they strict? When did you get married, or where did you get married? Did you get married in a church? Were you married outside in a park? Were there any specific circumstances around your wedding that made your wedding go off key, or did it rain and your wedding was outside? Something like that. You can get real specific. And you can use photos as prompts. And I think this is really good when you're talking to someone who's starting to lose their memory. usually people don't forget faces. So with my grandmother, when she was alive, sometimes she didn't remember people who were like close family members. But if I showed her a picture of her brothers, she can name all of them. She knew who they were. So when you're interviewing someone and you're trying to get information from them, pictures really help jog memories. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a picture of a relative. It could be of an event. Let's say they went to the World's Fair. You knew that they went to the World's Fair and you wanted to jog their memory about that experience. Maybe showing them a picture of the World's Fair. They might say, oh, you know what? I went to the World's Fair with cousin such and such. So using pictures really helps jog the memory. And then who and what was the greatest influence in your life? This also can help with time and place. So let's say, for instance, they said Joe Louis. You know, you'll know that, well, when did Joe Louis fight? You know, he was an influence on you. So that gives you time and place. So these are just some, you know, sample questions. Of course, you can make up your own questions. I also recommend, if you get a chance, coming into the library to check out books on genealogy. If you're not comfortable with technology, there are a lot of books that you can use that take you step by step in conducting your research. I know that I may be talking fast and it may be hard to kind of remember everything that I'm saying, but if you go and get a book, they can walk you step by step to take you through the process. So that is the end of that presentation. Oops. That is another presentation. That is for school. So that is it. If anyone wanted to do a demo.
Yes.
Go
Before we get started, thank you, Boomy. You didn't get a chance to introduce yourself, so feel free to give them your amazing name.
Okay, my name is Olubunmi Bakari. So my dad is from Nigeria, West Africa. And my mom, like I said, she's from here, from Washington, DC. So that is why I have this very unique and beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous name that means God's gift.
Yeah.
So Olu is God, Bumi is my gift. So my mother took me in her hands and said, behold, the only thing.
Not the Lion King. Not.
No, that is Roots. That's what Kunta Kinte did to Kizzy.
And we also have that to check out also.
Roots.
At DCPL, yes. So thank you so much, Boomy. We do have a participant, Mr. Marina. If you could unmute yourself, so we can get started on the demo. I think this will be very helpful just so we can kind of get some hands-on experience on how to use the resources. So Mr. Marina, are you available? Let me see if they're still on here. Mr. Marina, let me
If
see.
not, I could just show you what I've done. If you don't have someone, I can.
That could work. And also, before you get started, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll be here for questions as well. All right, you can go ahead, Boomy. Sorry.
Okay, so did I pull up the DC Public Library page? I thought I did. Hold on. I think I'm, oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, so now I am on the DC Public Library page. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to research and then databases, and then it's going to bring up this page that you see here. Next, I'm going to click on filter by subject. And then I'm going to scroll down and look for genealogy. As you can see, we have Ancestry Library Edition. Like I said in the beginning, this is going to go away. Well, we received an email saying that it will go away in January. So let's just clear that out. And then we have Heritage Quest. So since this is going to be going away, I'm going to go to Heritage Quest. It's going to ask you for your library card. So I'm going to type in my library card. Don't check out any books on my card.
We will, no, go ahead.
We're going to check out videos.
Who said that?
Me, Mandy. I mean, Boomy.
So this is what Heritage Quest looks like when you go. So you want to see Jim here. I don't know who that is, but in any case, so this is what you'll have access to. The census records, Canadian census records. You have Revolutionary War, and then the Freedmen's Bank records, which I think is really cool. So you want to start with the earliest and move backwards first. So I'm going to click on 1940. What are they asking me? I'm going to close this out. So I'm going to think, who was alive in 1940 that I want to look up? So I'm going to start with my grandmother. So in 1940, I think she was a teenager. So again, her last name is Underdew, and her first name was Laura. I know that she was born in 1921 in Washington, D.C. It is, nope. So I'm just going to put this in there. This name is unique enough, so I'm going to search. Let me be more clear. So here's something interesting though. So I don't see her name here. So I'm going to edit this because my grandmother used to use her middle name, which was Esther. Oops. So let me see if I can find her that way. These are some of the things that you may run into. Aha, I found her. So when you're searching for a relative, you need to know if they were called by something else. Their name might have been Robert, but they might have went by Bob or Bobby, and that might have been how it's recorded in the census record. So it's going to look something like this when you pull up your record. So I know that my grandmother was 18, and they got her birthday wrong, but that's okay. And that's another thing that you may see. You may know that your grandmother was born or your parents were born in 1950, but they have them listed in 1940. You're going to see dates jumping around so much in the census records because the further you go back, it seems as if they did not ask people when they were born. It seems sometimes they did a guesstimate, or maybe your relative didn't know exactly when they were born. So you'll see the date of birth jumping around. But it just tells me that she lived in Washington. She lived on Sheridan Road. She was in high school. And now I have a list of my great grandmother and my great grandfather. So let me click on my great grandfather. And so this gives me more information about him. So it says that he was born in 1879. Wow. You know, that helps a lot. And he was born in Maryland.
So Bumi, to confirm, the age is when this info was documented, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And okay, so we do have a few questions, if you don't mind. answering.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Edwards, I'm gonna, if you could ask your question.
Yes, hi, hello, wonderful topic. I wanted to ask, when two people in the family remembering stories differently,
Mhm.
what do we do about that?
You have to take both stories,
Oh,
and you would, I guess you would go, if you're using a story to trace your family's history, you have to go both routes. Let's say, for
okay,
instance, somebody was saying, no, we lived in Charles County. No. I remember we lived in, Grandma lived in PG County.
right,
You're going to have to go both.
in between, but
routes.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
I mean, and then you can
Miss,
find a third
Hmm.
person that maybe can corroborate, one of the stories, and okay, well, maybe it's more likely that this is the actual story.
I think my story more.
Okay.
Is there- you
Hey.
don't want to say that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have Ms. Lisbona.
Yes, hi. Thank you. Lovely presentation. I was wondering is this software going to work if your whole family is from overseas, or probably not?
Whoever has the library card will have access to this software, to this
No,
database.
no. I'm referring to if your heritage is from overseas, all other countries. a bunch
So where is your family from?
So Portugal, France, Israel, North Africa, kind of everywhere.
Okay, so
I just didn't know if it captured like other countries
Right,
or if it's
right.
American.
it does. So Heritage Quest,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ancestry has a new they have a global collection. They have new collections on theirs.
Okay.
So as you can see here, there's England,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Germany. Yeah. I actually found out my great grandfather, he was married in the Philippines. He had a Filipino wife. He was in the Spanish American War. So before he married they have Caribbean here. Before he married my great grandmother, he was married to a Filipino woman and they had a daughter. So, and I found who she was on here. I don't speak Tagalog, but I would like to try to find if they have any relatives, any descendants. But as you can see here, they have they have the Filipino records. They have an international database, but
Good.
this is only through the Ancestry library one.
Yeah.
So like I said, Heritage Quest is very limited. So this, you can access it now when you're at home, but next year you're going to have to come into the library to access this database.
Okay, but for overseas, you have to use Ancestry, and that's going away at the end of the year.
Yes, it's going away from your access from home.
Oh, from home. Okay,
From
but
home.
it's available at the library.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Bumi, if you could share that this link in the chat for me, please. We have some people who actually would love to use this element of the database. So we're going to share that with you all. Miss Chris,
You want the Ancestry library?
what you just pulled up to be able to access the international piece.
Okay, so you want the steps on how to access?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you guys are enjoying this a lot. You work hard.
yes.
So.
Diamond, I have a question in the chat I'd like to pose. This is Yvonne Irvin.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You can ask, I'm sorry.
Well, I was asking, first of all, I was a little late. Unfortunately, I had a conflict with my time. And she said, once you put your library card in, what is the first step to doing genealogical research? After you put your card in, what do you click on with the for the DC library? I've got a DC library card, and my number, I've gone in and reserved books and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So what's the first step after you you gain access to the library?
Yes, ma'am. Boomy, would you like to answer that? Let's see, is Boomy still on here? Let's see, I think I have her. Boomy?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So you mean as far as accessing the database, or once you go to Ancestry?
Well, I'd like to begin researching my father, who was born in St. Mary's County. And he was born in, he's deceased. He was born in 1913.
Okay, would you like to do a demo and we start researching now? You
I
feel
would appreciate it if others would benefit from that.
You said St. Mary's County in 1913 he was born.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back to the share screen mode. So again, I'm just for this, because this database is going to go away, I'm going to go back to Heritage Quest. And he was born in 1913.
Yes.
So we're going to go to the 1920 census. The census was taken every 10 years. And just to know,
I see. I have to remember that. Go to the 1920 census.
Yeah, because he wouldn't be in 1910. He wasn't born yet. The census was taken every 10 years. And for the majority of African Americans, probably won't see an ancestor show up until about the 1870 census.
Okay. His last name was Handy, Handy.
Okay.
And his first name was Brady, Brady.
Okay, and he was born in 1913.
St. Mary's County, Maryland. That's apostrophe, well, I guess, apostrophe, yes. Yes.
Okay, and then we're gonna search. Okay. There's a lot of Brady.
Yes, I see, because that's his mother, Margaret. I see his mother's name.
Okay. So were they living in Baltimore?
Yes, and then they moved to Baltimore, which is where I grew up.
Okay.
In Baltimore.
So saying, did you know that his mother was born?
I knew his mother. I see his father's birthplace. It says Virginia. See, I didn't know that. I never met his father. His father died when he was young.
Yes, he's not listed here. But what we can do, so we see that his mother's name was Margaret.
Yes,
so
I'm named after her.
Okay, so let's see. So we know that she was born in 1880. So we're going to write that down. And her name is Margaret.
Yes.
Handy. So we're writing that down.
And
we know that she was born in Virginia.
Yes, I see they don't give the county in Virginia, do they?
No, but what we're going to do now that we have that information is we're going to go back to the 1910 census.
Oh.
Okay. So let's go to 1910. We're going to go 10 years back.
Now, I think when she was born, I think her last name was Penn, Penn, and Handy was her married name.
So we're going to search, let's search by her married name first,
I
because
see.
it's possible that she was married 10 years ago, maybe.
Uh-huh.
So, and if not, we can search by her maiden name. And this way you can find out what her husband's name was.
Yes.
Okay, so it's possible that his name was Charles, because here,
Yes, his name was Charles.
okay. So here you finding out more
Charles
information.
Handy. Mm-hmm.
So you know that he was 37 in 1910.
Mm.
And we can click on his name. He was born in 1873.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to find out more information about him? Or
Yes, I see. They say that he was, looks like industry, a farmer, maybe a farmer, occupation farming,
mhm,
which was what most of the Blacks in St. Mary's County were probably into agriculture.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that he was born in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go back and look for him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the 1900 census.
And do they give his date of death? I don't know what year he died.
No, it doesn't, but you can assume that he died somewhere between 1910 and 1920. There's another database you can check for that, another, not database, but there's another source.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on this one. We can check that next. So
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Okay, so let's see. This might be him. Do any of these names look familiar?
Father's name. Oh, uh-huh. Now that was his father's name, James Handy, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I would assume from, of course, I don't know that much about him.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So, but do you see the process of how you can move backwards? And find more
Yes.
information about people that you don't know. You're just looking
Uh-huh.
at dates of birth and where they were born, and you just take it back from there. So that's how you build on going back. And then also looking at some of these names, you can say, oh, I remember this person. Like for me, I would ask my mother and she'd be like, oh yeah, I remember Aunt Ida, or, you know,
Yes.
somebody like
Uh-huh.
that.
Well, see, I've learned a lot just from looking at what you brought up, because I didn't know his father. I see his father was born in 1848.
Which means more than likely he was enslaved.
Absolutely.
Bumi, I have a question, because
Mhm.
something on here that's interesting to me, it asks if they could read or write. Was that for everyone or just for Black people?
That was for everyone. So this is the actual census record here. If
Okay.
you click on it to the left,
Okay.
and so all they did was the form that we're looking at, it was digitized. But if you click on the actual record here,
Mhm.
these are like all the questions that they asked,
Gotcha.
like education, you know, ownership of home,
Mm.
occupation, you know, where were you from, stuff like that is all here.
Okay.
And so then what you'll see highlighted in green, like this will be the family.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Well, this is James Handy. I see he was born I never knew,
mm.
What year. I didn't know Charles, who was his son. So I definitely did not know anything about James.
Mhm. And then the mother,
Uh-huh.
let's see, she was born in, it gives January of 1856.
Uh-huh.
So same for her as well. And they, they got married in 1874. They were married for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Had a
Now
lot
this
of
makes
kids.
this research so simple once you know how to do it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll become addicted.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Get your water ready. Get your food ready. 'Cause you're gonna be sitting on the computer for hours and not getting
Absolutely.
anything else done. Because you're gonna, it's
Yes.
addictive. It sucks you in.
Yes. Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much for
I
participating
think
in
the
this.
Thank you so much. Is it
Welcome.
Bakari? Is that how
Yeah.
her name is pronounced?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Diamond. This has been invaluable.
I love that. Thank you, Miss Irvin. So yeah, we don't have any more questions, but
I have a question, please. I did put it to the chat. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Yes, it seems so easy. I'm gonna give it a try.
Okay.
So my question in the chat is, Bumi,
Yes.
I know my family came from the Caribbean here to the United States. So
Right.
how do I go about doing that? Is
Okay.
there a,
So yeah. So let's go back to this other record here. Let's see, immigration. So, do you know their last name?
yes,
Yeah,
that would be awesome if you could give me a heads up. My mother's last name was Robinson.
Okay.
Her first name is Daisy. Initial A.
What year was she? Do you know the year she was born?
I don't have that document here.
Do you know where she was born?
I know she was born in in Clarendon, Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica. Okay.
Her date of birth was November 22nd. Could it be like 1920? I'm just guessing, since I don't have that information on hand.
Well, let's just search without a year and see what comes up.
Okay.
Did she move to New York?
Yeah, she was living in New York. She came from Jamaica and was living in New York at Alsey Street in Brooklyn.
This person was born, it says 1891.
No, she was Daisy Agatha, Agatha is her middle name.
Let's see. Let's edit this and see if she used
Agatha, middle name. First name is Daisy.
Let's see. My person should go. Let me edit this again. Let's see, so Daisy. And where does she live? New York?
In Alsey Street, Brooklyn, New York.
Sometimes you got to get more specific. Let's see.
Yeah.
If we find anything. No, she's not coming up. So this is a passenger list. Do you know how she came in?
She came on BWIA.
Okay. Okay, so let's try something else.
It used to be BWIA Airlines.
So she flew here. Okay. So when did she move to New York? What year?
Okay, I want to say somewhere in the 60s in Brooklyn.
Oh, so check the census. Let's check. Oh no, we can't check the census.
So yeah,
if she didn't get here, we
um,
don't have the. Let me see if we have the collection from the Caribbean, because I think. Let's see. I don't know if they have the Caribbean. I think they only have records for people who immigrated to the U.S. from the Caribbean. I don't think this database that we have for free has that. Now, if you were to pay for it, oh, let's see. They have Jamaica here. Let's see. Let's see what they have. And what location?
where was she coming from?
Yeah, Clarendon. Was she?
Well, no, she's coming from Kingston.
Kingston. Okay, so we might be in luck here. Let's see. Jamaica civil and birth records. Daisy. Robinson, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the year was 1926.
Yeah, roughly speaking.
So we can click here. If we don't know, we can do plus or minus a year. Let's just do plus or minus 5 years, since we don't know.
And she was living in Brooklyn, New York.
Do any of these names look familiar, or dates, places? These are all Daisy Robinsons. And these were all born in the 1920s. Do you know her exact birth date?
It was November 22nd.
November 22nd. Close, but not it. Ah, here we go. Was her name Frances?
Yes.
Ooh.
Her maiden name was Frances.
Frances Agatha Robinson.
Yeah. Did you see? I just see. Oh, okay.
So it has a mother, Lucella.
Yeah. Wait.
And
Let me get a picture of this. Let me see. This is. I got to confirm it. My sister, my older sister.
okay. So Golden Grove, St. Thomas, Jamaica. And then let's see, the mother. Click on her name. What will we get? Oh, it just says the child, Frances Agatha Robinson.
November 22nd.
So Boomy, to just restate, right?
Mhm.
What are good information to have? Like what's like the best to have?
Basic information, names,
Date
such
of birth.
as full names, nicknames. You want to, another thing that they tend to do on the census is spell the names differently. Like sometimes they didn't ask you how you spelled your name. So like for instance, my grandmother's sister's name was Sally. Sometimes they spelled it Sally, sometimes it was Sallie. So you want to look for, different ways of spelling the name. You need birth dates if you can, if not the exact year, as I did for this example. There's a tab where you can click plus or minus X amount of years. So if you're not sure exactly what year that person was born in, you can click that plus or minus 5 years or so and go with that. And it'll pull up a broad range of names associated with your person.
Okay.
So yeah, birth dates, names, and parents' names are the basic things that you need.
Okay.
I would say that's the start. Some people don't even know that. I remember a woman who she found out that she was not the child of who she thought she was. So she didn't have the name of the relative. And there's a lot of people who don't have names at all.
Two things. Well, a personal story. I have a cousin who just started this process, and we always thought that we had 3 great aunts, well, 2 great aunts and my great grandma. But she checked this, and it was like a slew of other aunts and uncles and all these other people. So we haven't gotten into that yet. I'm not personally prepared for all the other to come from that. But you got a ton of info on here.
Also think about this though, and this is something that my mother had told me. So my grandmother's mother's side is from Montgomery County, and slavery was absolutely horrible to African Americans because a lot of people were split up, and you don't necessarily know if your brother was actually your brother. And she used to say, well, I think her grandmother used to tell her, people came together and created families. So just because you see somebody listed with someone does not mean that they're blood. They may have just acted as family, but that was not necessarily their blood. So they came as protection. They came together as family. So that's something to think about. Not saying that somebody wasn't creeping, but
let's stay focused. So we have one more question from Miss Bell. Miss Bell, I'm gonna unmute you. And thank you so much, Miss Chris, as well, and everyone.
And thank you very much, guys.
Thank
you.
Sure.
Hey, hello?
Yes.
Hi.
I wanted to know, like my mother was born in Monroe, North Carolina, but she has something like 3 names. Her name was Mary Louise Gertrude.
Mary Louise Gertrude?
Yes, ma'am.
What was her last name?
Last name, I think it was Crump.
How do you spell it?
Crump. And she was born July 23rd, 1918.
Okay, so we're going to check the 1920 census. And the last name was Crump. And let's just do Mary Louise. I know that she was born in 1918.
In Monroe, North Carolina.
Oh. It didn't pop up. Let's see. Was it Monroe Union, Monroe Guilford? I'll just do a general. Let's see what comes up.
She goes by the name of Gertrude.
She used Gertrude?
Yes, more frequently. Because that many people call her. And her last name was Bell, but I think the Crump was the one that raised her up because her mother's name was Daisy.
So you said she used Gertrude as her first name.
Yes.
Let's see if we can find who that was. No,
Might have used the last name Bill. I don't know.
you
I
said
don't know.
Bill.
Yes.
How you spell it?
Bell.
No, here's somebody.
This is Alonzo.
Do these names look familiar? Did she have a brother named Lonzo?
Yes. That's the one in the military, Alonzo.
So this looks like your family here. Becky Bell was the head. Jim Bell. Do you know Jim? Have you heard of a Jim?
No.
That was another son. And then there's Lonzo and there's your
Oh, that might have been my Uncle JB. That's JB's that's Uncle JB. His name was Jimmy Bell. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we always called them JB. We always called him JB. Nobody knew his first name was Jimmy Bell. Okay, and what did you say her mother's name was?
It looks like it's Becky Bell.
Becky.
And she was born around 1885.
1885.
And she was widowed.
Okay. All right, wages. Okay. Alonzo and Gertrude, 2 daughters. She had another daughter named Mabel. Did she? One of them deceased though.
Prior to your, who was Gertrude?
That's one of her daughters. Alonzo and JB. And then she had another, Alonzo and JB.
Were they born after 1820 or before?
They was born before. I think my Uncle Alonzo went into service in 41. He went into service in 41. I think they was born before my mother was.
Okay, so what we can do is we can go back. We know that Becky Bell was born in North Carolina in 1885, according to the census.
Yes.
So now what I like about Ancestry, I am searching at Ancestry. I thought I was on, well, usually Ancestry, if there's a record associated with her, it'll pop up here. But let's do a new search.
Okay.
And let's go home. So we were in 1920. Let's go back to, since the 1890 is not available, she wouldn't be in 1880. Let's go to 1900. That would be the earliest. Now, Bill, was that her married name, you think?
Who?
Or Becky?
Yes, I guess so.
Let's see. So that might not be her name here, but let's just check. Do you know what her maid? No, you see.
I don't even know any, because the woman that raised my grandmother, her name was Rebecca Crump, I think.
Yeah, Becky is probably short for Rebecca.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just a possibility. So that's what I'm saying with names.
Yes, ma'am.
They put Becky in here, but some, Rebecca, it could be short for Rebecca.
Uh-huh.
So let's edit this. And you said,
I really wanted to know who my father was legally. because after my mother passed away, it was one uncle of mine was claiming he was my father, which I just told him if he couldn't tell me that when my mother was living, I didn't want to hear it, you know, because I had always considered him as my Uncle Crump.
Mm.
And I do know, and they do switch up sometime and go with kin and stuff like that. You know, be mixed marriages and stuff like that, you know, and I wanted to know for sure.
I like the way
Because
Ross
they
says
have
if they
water,
switch up.
water now. I know of water.
So it's not going to show you, like, only way to know for sure would be through a DNA test. But
Mhm.
Ancestry does offer DNA, and actually I got my mother to do it because they keep.
Mhm. Well, Miss Bakari, can I ask you if you wanted to go as far back as Africa? I mean, is there any way you could, like my great-great-great-grandfather, that 1848, he was in slavery. Do you think there's any information I could get as to where he came from in Africa? There's no way I could
It
get that.
depends on how long he might have been here for a while. When you do the Ancestry DNA, like if you feel comfortable with that, because my mom, it shows you, it'll tell you your percentage of DNA from what region in Africa and
Yes.
how long, like your people have been there. But definitively, if you do African ancestry, which is what I did, and they don't keep your DNA, it's more expensive, but they can trace your maternal line, because women, we can only trace the maternal. We can't do the paternal. It would have to come from a male. But
Yes.
it would trace your mother to mother to mother to mother. And so that way I found out that I'm Yoruba on my mom's side. If you see my grandmother, you would never know she was from Africa. And it's so funny, but she was Yoruba. Her mother's mother's is from Nigeria. They came from Nigeria. So that's the only way I know definitively you could find out what country and what group, I should say group, that you're from in
Or
Africa.
tribe, like, yeah. I know Gina Page, who has a company.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Yes. Her father, Jerome, is my neighbor.
Yeah, I know him. I know Mr. Page.
Yeah,
Yes.
all family on here. But before we get started on that, Miss Bell, did you have any other questions?
No. I'm gonna try experiment with it.
Yes,
on Ancestry and see if I can get any link or more information on it, because I wanted to hear what you were saying about the DNA, or do I have to take DNA from because both of my parents is deceased now, and how would I go about doing DNA?
So that's outside of the purview of the DC Public Library, but it's related, like Ancestry.com. They have a special going on now. I think it's like $60. It takes about a month. You spit in a tube and you send your DNA off, and they'll analyze it, and then you'll find out like who your relatives are, like who you're related to, and it'll give you like cousins. You might discover cousins you never knew you had, and that way. But if your father, so you're saying that your uncle, the man you knew as your uncle, was claiming to be your biological father?
Yes.
So that might be a little difficult to discern because they share the same DNA. Now,
But
way,
it wouldn't tell who my mother was married to?
that right there could be in the census record. That would tell you who your mother was married to. But as far as like to know who your biological parent was, if they're siblings,
yes,
that might be difficult.
Okay.
Boomy, is it possible to find the link to put inside the chat with that special they have?
With Ancestry.
Yeah, and see if we can, if you can like
See.
check with that,
Mhm.
take it from there.
You just go to, yeah, they have the
Okay.
holiday sale. So this is their website.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yep, and it's right on the front page too, so
mhm.
you'll be able to
Okay.
find it.
You see, or do I need to put it in chat, or can everybody see? It's just ancestry.com.
If you can put it in the chat for us, so if people want to click it.
Yeah, they okay.
And then also in the chat, we put links to the database as well.
Easier for you.
Okay.
Oh no, here it is. Never mind.
For you all to check
This
that.
is free trial.
Oops, why am I sending this a direct message? I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that.
Okay. Okay, there we go. So you can check out their special on there and they'll give you some more info on that.
Okay then.
And then in
Okay.
terms of and first of all, thank y'all all so much for participating and being on
Thank you, darling.
and us just talking about this, because we all have like the same stories in some way. So
Mhm.
we're all
Yeah.
bonding over that.
Tell Boomy my husband is from Nigeria too also.
Oh,
He's a-
we got some family.
yes, he's a Yoruba. He's from Yoruba. My last name is Oyelika.
Oh, okay.
Look at it.
What part of Nigeria is he from? What state?
Huh?
What state?
What? What's his name?
No, what state is he from in Nigeria?
Oh, he's from Undo.
Oh, okay.
Undo. Little town called Undo, but all his family is sisters and stuff is in Ibadan.
Mhm.
Ibadan.
Okay.
But he's from Undo.
Okay.
Mhm.
Look at this. Finding cousins on here. I'm telling you.
Good, good afternoon. This is Vera. I wanted to know, when you go on to Ancestry, how expensive is it cost-wise, as opposed to the going to the archives?
Free versus I think they charge. I'm not sure how much they charge. I think it's expensive. I want to say they charge you like $60 a month or something.
Okay.
I know when you take the DNA, they give you like access for a free
You got a free trial on here.
yeah. But like I said, we live in DC or you live in this area. If you can, we don't need to do this. Like if you have time to go and do research, you got the actual archives. You have first start with the library because that's free access. And then for the records that we don't have, you can go to the archives, you can go to like I said, the Mormon.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Okay, then. Thank you. This has been excellent information to get started.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you all so
Hi,
much.
could I
so
ask, hi, this is Linda. This is Linda. I have a quick question. Now, my grandparents came from Italy back in the 1800s. Does the library access of heritage website, would that help me or not? If they're born in Italy?
Let's see. Let's check there. See if they have.
And just a quick note, we have to end after this question, but I'm gonna put my email in the chat and you guys can contact me if you have any other questions about how to access this information or the databases, or I can also connect you with the links as well, so you all can get started, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it looks like they have Italian records here.
Okay.
So yes, you would have to use the Ancestry one, not Heritage Quest, but Ancestry database. Start now because, like I said, they said that they will discontinue this one for access from home. So right now you have access until the end of the year.
Okay, and otherwise they have to go to the library after,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a blessed day, ladies.
Thank you.
And thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you
You're
all.
welcome.
I will see everyone soon.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.